Subscribe and click the notification bell to stay updated with the latest videos from School of Technology, Management and Engineering and MIMS in
Howard Reingold once said, "Technology is knowledge of how the universe works that enables you to change the world." A very warm afternoon to one and all present here. Today, I, Satvik Gupta, on behalf of NMIMS School of Technology, Management and Engineering family Indore, takes immense pleasure in welcoming all of you back to the second session of this wonderful day. Before we move further with a very inquisitive topic, I would like to inform all of you that a feedback form will be floated in the chat box. So please fill the necessary details correctly, as attendance will be provided on the basis of the submission of feedback forms only. IoT and Python. Oftentimes, prototypes or real life IoT systems need to be developed quickly and efficiently. When this happens, two tasks immediately come to life: programming the IoT devices and organizing a backend that interacts with these devices. For many developers, Python is the language of choice in the market. It's easy to learn, has clean syntax, and is supported by a large community online. In IoT, Python is a great choice for the backend side of development as well as the software development of devices. To throw some more light on this and to teach the basics of Python programming in IoT, we have with us Mr. Tushar B. Kute. Mr. Tushar B. Kute is ME Computer Science and Engineering from MIT Aurangabad and has also done Diploma in Computer Engineering from MSBTE Mumbai. Other than that, Mr. Kute has also done Bachelor's in Journalism, Diploma in Urdu language, and Advanced Diploma in Hindi. He has 16 years of work experience and is currently working as a data science and researcher in MITU Research, Pune. He is an essential part of the chief panel of editors and authors at Prakrit Prakshan, Pune. We feel honored to have you with us today, sir, and we are glad to hand over the podium to you.
Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot for the introduction. It was very nice introduction. So today we'll be starting with the Python programming. So 2 sessions are given to me. Basically, I'm working in the data science field from last 7 years, and most of the time we used to collect the data from different kind of sources, and there we to apply the data science. And most of the projects we used to work on the Internet of Things application design also. So, how exactly the Python is beneficial for designing IoT applications, especially on the Raspberry Pi architecture? So that I will be discussing today in the whole sessions here. So in the first session, we'll talk about the Python programming language. Maybe the participants who have joined the FDP, maybe they have worked some more on Python programming. That will be a revision session for all. And maybe those who are not knowing programming language, so it will be a great opportunity for them to learn a new programming language. So in my first session, we'll be talking about the ideas of Python. I'll be showing the things practically. We'll talk about theoretically as well as practically how exactly the concept is beneficial, how it will be used. And in the second session, the last session of today, we'll talk about the hardware designing development with Raspberry Pi and combining the Python programming language also there. I think I'm audible clearly. Is it, sir?
Yes, sir, you are completely audible.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks a lot, sir. Yeah, so let us continue. First of all, I'll talk about the core idea of programming, Python programming. Why, how, when, and what. So these kind of questions and answers to these kind of questions we'll solve here step by step. So my first presentation is the world of Python. Just a 15-minute presentation is there. We'll talk about the complete idea about the Python programming language here. Okay, so whenever I start teaching Python for first time, I used to give this introduction to all of the trainees there. So they must be knowing why we are learning Python and why it is essential to learn the world of programming using Python especially. So let us continue. The world of Python, like if you see today, the programming world is having n number of programming languages present there. Maybe we are having a question in mind, which language to learn, whether you have to learn C, Java, C++, JavaScript, HTML, or any other languages there. So big question there. But depending upon the technology, you need to learn the specific language. Now talking with the IoT, basically Internet of Things technologies here. Python is emerging number one language of development in almost all kind of hardware. Maybe if you've seen in the previous session about microprocessor based embedded systems, microcontroller based embedded systems, seeing both the things like if you're using Arduino, C is the main language, embedded C is the main language for coding. But from last 2 years, we are seeing the transition that even Arduino is also moving from C programming to Python programming. And talking with Raspberry Pi, our main aim to see how exactly the coding on the Raspberry Pi will be done. So there also we are having the Python is one of the main language to code, and along with that, apart from that, basically in the field of artificial intelligence. So today, if you see almost everywhere, all they are empowered by the artificial intelligence technologies, and all kind of coding in AI is possible with the help of Python programs. It will be definitely beneficial for you to learn these novel programming language, which is used in almost all area of the development there. Okay, let's see what exactly Python is first, and then we'll see practical part of it. Python programming language was designed by Gui van Rossum in 1990s in Holland, Amsterdam, and now currently it's under the control of Python Software Foundation USA. So whatever changes that they used to make in Python software, Python interpreter basically. Okay, so it's done by the PSF, Python Software Foundation, and most importantly, Python is open source and free programming language. So its code is available online, and it's open source means this we can see its code, and we don't require any kind of license to use it. And with an amazing community is present all around the globe. Those who are working in programming basically. So Python programming, so huge community is there. Bloggers, writers, authors, developers, enthusiasts, hobbyists, like all they combining all together, very great community is there. And if you want to find a solution to different kind of problems, it's very easy to see that on the net. So most of the time when I search for a novel thing in Python, I use internet, I use Google to search for that, and almost all kind of solutions I can get on the net there. Okay, so Python was started in basically developed in 1989 to 91. So on average, you can say 1990s the development is completed. Then Python first version, Python second version, Python third version are released. Python 3 is released in 2008, and currently we are having Python 3.10 version present here, which is the most stable version, which is used by all kind of development community there. Python 3.10. Okay, so basically it's open source. That's why anyone can create their own IDs interpreter of Python. They're distributing it. So a lot many different kind of IDs and interpreters of Python are available that also we can use. I'll be using Google Colab today. In the first session, in the second session, we'll talk about Raspberry Pi's internal development idle, and in that we'll see how to develop the codes here. Okay, so Python name was given by Van Rossum because of there's a comedy character called Monty Python Flying Circus. Monty Python was a name of the comedy character in that comedy series was present. So the name Python, he think it was short, unique, and mysterious. That's why the name is given. There is no any special reason why the Python name is given. Now, the important aspect that we need to focus here, that is why exactly Python is chosen for development. Maybe some of you are knowing the C language, Java language, C++ programming languages. You may have coded in different languages. I don't know exactly, but how Python is different, it's separated from other languages, which are actually illustrated by the respective features which are shown here on the slides. Okay, so you can see it's easy to understand. So those who are from different backgrounds, basically you are not from computer engineering background and you have to learn a programming language, so it will be one of the best language to learn. It's expressive, whatever expression you write in general mathematics, same way we write that expressions here in Python. And human understandable statements are possible to write. It's a high level language basically. Free and open source, it's portable. So whatever platform you use, okay, any platform, operating system basically, irrespective of that, Python programming work exactly the same way. It's platform independent and it's portable. So talking with embedded system, basically embedded systems are developed using embedded Linux operating system. So, and we use Windows. Okay, so let's talk about the compatibility, whether the code that you write in Windows are compatible on Linux or not. Yes, they are 100% compatible. Exactly same way that you run on Windows is possible on Linux based operating systems. So here I'm using Linux. I'm using Ubuntu Linux, and in Raspberry Pi, we have Raspbian operating system available there. We'll talk about that, how to use that operating system and how to write the codes of the Raspbian there. Object-oriented language is there. It's extensible. Extra codes, APIs can be added there. Embeddable. This is what the main important feature that we'll be focusing here on the IoT application designs there. 8 number feature, embedded systems. Maybe, okay, obviously you may be from, if you're from electrical, electronic or computer background, but be knowing embedded system. So whenever you're using a programming, you're embedding a programming in hardware and you're operating that hardware with a program, dynamic program. So it's called an embedded system. So embedded C is the main language. It was the main language for coding on different kind of embedded systems. Today, from last 2 years, I am seeing the transitions that almost all kind of development community on embedded system is moving towards Python programming language because of many reasons which are mentioned over here. Okay, so embedded system is also empowered by the Python programming language. It's interpreter is like executing the code line by line. Then large standard library. Yes, this is important to know. Highest number of library means extra abilities given to programming language. If you go to Python's official website and you download the Python's interpreter, from there, its setup is only 29 MB, 29 megabytes. 29 MB is very small setup. Within 2 seconds, you can copy, 2-3 seconds, you can copy this particular data. So how much small is that? But apart from the core interpreter, some extra abilities, libraries, APIs can be connected with the respective Python interpreter. That is what we call as libraries. And largest standard libraries in the world is given to, it's available with Python programming language. Currently, 3,44,500 extra libraries, packages to the Python is possible. Even in Raspberry Pi also, if you want to code, so there is a package called as rpi.gpio. Raspberry Pi GPIO package is present that you have to download and you have to install it. But if you're using Raspberry Pi, Raspbian, by default, GPIO package, a Raspberry Pi GPIO package is present inside the Raspbian OS there. So, and not only that, if you're using Arduino or if you're using Node MCU or if you're using ESP8266, so there also all these libraries are available. So you can code easily for these embedded devices with the help of Python programming language. Okay, that's huge standard libraries present over there. Then GUI programming. So most of the time when you design the graphical user interfaces, maybe if you're seeing the IoT's complete architecture, basic architecture, at the front end we have the graphical user interface, means the way by which we interact with that system. We may be having a graphical some buttons, text boxes, like all labels, like a GUI if you want to create, and then we can see what exactly is happening inside the system. So that design, that development is possible with the help of Python. 22 different ways are there which we can use and choose to write the GUI programming in Python. And dynamically type. Dynamic typing is something like when you use the data, so we don't have to declare what kind of data we require over there. So any kind of data it can accommodate inside the variable that is dynamical. We'll talk about that practically step by step. This is what the common features of Python is, which has made one of the number one choice for development of different kind of softwares in almost every field there. Okay, so those who are from other the technical background apart from computer or ENTC, electronics communication, so maybe they have heard about that. In their area also Python is used for that particular purpose there. So because of these particular reasons why Python is chosen. Just I'll share a few surveys or a few kind of data where you can see the comparison of all kind of languages there. See this, the top most popular programming languages in the world here in 2000, 2004, 2020, how the progress was achieved. Here Python is number one language, Java, JavaScript and all. This is Statista's survey, popularity of each programming language based on share of tutorial searches on Google. So someone is wishing to learn the Python programming, any programming language. So you used to go to Google and search Python tutorial, Java tutorial, like that. So you can see Python still standing number one there and increased by 4.1% in this year. Then the most valuable programming skill to have in a resume. So when you're having this skill on resume, which is important, here also Python is number one, released by Qz.com. and top three languages. Basically, this is from my point of view. Basically, whenever we work on an AI project, automation project, and data science project, so we used to collect the data from different kind of sensors, and primarily we use Raspberry Pi for that. Okay, and there also we choose common language Python. We don't use other languages for data science basically because Python is general purpose language. Anywhere it can be used. SQL is specially used for data analytics, or R is also specially used for data analytics, artificial intelligence. Like all. Python is general purpose, used in almost all areas. So if you want to integrate different kind of technologies together, use a common language there. We don't require one thing in one language, another thing in another language, third thing in another third language. No, common language is used for all purposes. This is what Python is giving us. Okay, so see, top language of coding infinite, Python is number one here. Or if you go to Stack Overflow, here also most wanted language is Python, which is number one. Again, this is IEEE. Maybe if you know IEEE, Spectrum has given the ranking to different kind of current generation programming languages, coming under four categories: web language, web development language, mobile development language, desktop development language, embedded systems. This is what the embedded system last one. Where in embedded system we use Python, C++, C, and assembly language. Assembly is now out of date. C was present, C++ also used, but now these the strongest replacement to C and C++ is now available is Python. This is what the fourth we are talking about, embedded systems and Internet of Things application design there. Okay, machine learning languages are there. This is marketability survey by IEEE Spectrum. Here also we are having Python is the number one language, 11%. Data science languages which we use, Python is number one here. This is coding dojo. You can see the growth of Python changing continuously, number of jobs available. If you wish to change the job, so my suggestion will be just learn Python and a technology alike to that. That will be definitely beneficial for you. See this Python's growth 2017, 18, 19, 20. Till last year, the data is available. This is Java, JavaScript, and all. Scan.com, Python is number one, and then number two is Java. I call data science coffee. This is the growth against Java is shown that the number of developers who are using Java, blue color, and the red color are the Python. They are incrementing, they are increasing. This is what the common ideas are there. So Python is getting used in almost all the areas, and because of that, number of developers are increasing. The requirements are also increasing. Huge number of requirement of Python developer is present in industries also. Fine. Yeah, so see, this is very important slide to note why Python is now chosen. The main reason, one of the main reason, few that we have seen over there in the previous slides, the amount of time required to write the code program is very, very less. We can find a solution to a particular problem almost in all kind of programming languages there, all kind of languages. But how much amount of time required to write the code is different. Amount of time required to write the code. So if you see, if I'm writing a code program in Java, it may require 16 hours to code. C++ will require 11 hours to code. C will require 8 to 9 hours to code, okay, to write the program. And if you go above here, Python requires 2 hours to code. Same result if you want to get, if you want to achieve from that. What we require, what the industry is basically required, they require speed, they require the optimized code or the efficient, fast, efficient codes, which is given by Python. This is why the reason is chosen. We don't basically seek that I want to use Java only. I am a Java, I love Java, so I use Java. It's not like that. We require speed, efficiency, and fast coding, and this is the reason why the industries are now looking for the Python programming language there. See this simple code that you can see. Whenever you start learning a new language, so we start with hello world printing. So we used to print hello world for first time. So when you write the code in C, you require 5 lines to code that. And when you go to Java, you require 7 lines to code it. If you go to Python, so how many lines are there? Only a single line. This is what the code difference you can see. One more code, one more program I'll show you why Python is chosen. It's a crawler kind of code where it's like a search engine. You visit different kind of links and extract the information that you require from the respective websites. So one program I have written in Java, and same program I have replaced using Python. So you just can check the length of this particular course. Java requires whatever number of lines are required. So out of what 20% lines are there only in Python, only 20% lines. You can see the difference. between Java and Python's code now. And this is why Python is getting used. Easiness, simplicity, and any number of libraries, easy libraries are available that we can use. You can see, so almost all areas Python is getting used. That the top companies who are using Python for their internal operations. Many different reasons are there for different application design. These companies, almost all top companies are covered over here, and they have created their own Python based data framework, Python based IoT frameworks also, and using that data to perform any sort of operations present there. See, so in future, Python may be used for three different purposes. Today also, main purpose is our area is the first one, which is networking. Make sure networking is the essential part of computing systems today. Without network, you can think about a computer system. So if network is not there, okay, see, this Zoom meeting is also was not also possible. Network is important, and most of the applications which are now available online on mobile, they are having a network connectivity. So networking is the main area where Python is getting focused. Second is big data analytics. The data which is present in huge amount, big data. So when data is incrementing, your speed will decrement. Right? They are inversely proportional to each other, but without affecting the speed, you have to handle the big data. That is what uh, in future Python will be used for data analytics. Then artificial intelligence, AI, one of the prime area of development today. There also Python is the number one choice. There are the three top fields of current generation technologies are covered by Python programming language today. See, so that's what the common things that we need to know before coding the Python. So when you actually start coding the programming, so my suggestion is given there on the slide. If you wish, you can do parallelly with me, but my speed somewhat will be faster, somewhat, not exactly high. But if you wish, so you can code with me. But if it is not possible, presentations are shared with the coordinator, so they can share this presentation with you, and everything is given practically on all of these particular presentations there. Okay, so just a minute. Okay, so that is the common idea. That's what we require to know about Python programming language. And now let us continue with actual coding. Uh, we write the code when we have to write the code in Python programming. So we don't require a special software. Softwares are n number of softwares are present there, but some clouds are also available. Cloud is something like uh, anything as a service. Might be knowing cloud. Generally, we see data we are storing at central location, and that's part of the cloud. That's okay. It's a cloud. It's okay. But cloud is like anything as a service. Now Google has created one cloud where they are providing Python interpreter as a service, and that is what we call as Google Collaboratory. There, Python coding is directly available. If you are not installed anything, then also by using online method, you can write the code, you can see the output, you can download the code, you can save the program, you can reuse that program, you can download this program and execute in your system also. So to understand Python programming, I'll be using that particular collaboratory, Google Collaboratory, and there we can write the code of Python programming. So we'll see common basic ideas about Python, and then try to understand the structure of the complete programming language over here. So just a minute, I'll share the link with you. So where exactly I'll be writing the codes. So in order to write the Python programs, so Google has given one cloud, as I mentioned already. So this is the Google's cloud. Check this. The website is Google Collaboratory, collab.research.google.com. See this, which I posted in the chat box here. This is collab.research.google.com. If you want to do the practice of Python programming, so you'll be using that. And in the afternoon session, I'll show you how do we write the code, how exactly it's possible to write the code on Raspberry Pi. There, the same program I can write. Their ID is different basically. See this. This is your Google Colab. I think it's visible. And when you log in for first time on Google Collaboratory, you'll get such a window. So basically, we require Google login there, whatever Gmail ID you're having, or your organization's Gmail ID is there, whatever. Your Gmail ID should be present. That you require, you have to log in from there, and Actually, I've created n number of codes present over here, already created codes. Maybe when you create for first time, this will be empty. This can be empty there. So here's the option present called as new notebook. So when I click on that new notebook, the window, a new Python program will be empty program will be available for you to write the codes over there. See this simple code, simple window, simple seal best window will be open here on the Google Collaboratory. One of the best way. Remember, you don't need to download anything, but you can write the code online to see how exactly the Python programming is working. Okay, so let's get started. Uh, One slide I mentioned when you start learning a new programming language. So we have to start with let's say uh, hello world. Correct, hello world. So you should write there. So simply when you want to print something, so you can print hello world here. See, in between, if you are having any kind of questions or doubts, you can put in the chat box. Not a problem. So I'll immediately can answer over there. It's not compulsory to ask at the end. At the end also we'll take a question answering session for last 5 to 10 minutes, and in between also if any kind of questions, so you can put them into the chat box. Okay, so this is your collaboratory window where we can write the Python program and try to get the insights of this programming language. One thing to note that if you're having the knowledge of previous some programming language, it will be good, and if you don't have, it will be better, because you will not have any confusion in mind. Basically, when you this is my uh, observation also, because previously if you're knowing some languages like C++ or Java, so you used to compare that this is done in Java like that, why in Python like this. Okay, like that questions are good, but every language is having their own structure, own syntax, own methodologies. So based on that we write the programs there. Python is having its own methodology, and more importantly, Python is interpreter-based language. Interpreter means it can execute a single line of code at a time. Okay, it can execute a single line of code at a time, which is not present there in other languages, C, C++, and Java. Especially interpreter-based languages are there, many are available, but in Python you can add. So this is called as a single cell, where I can write a statement and I can execute it. See, for example, if I write print round brackets, parenthesis, and inside that I can have a quote, and there I can write hello world, print hello world. And to execute that, here we can see there's a arrow present, triangle is present. When I click on that, or I can run using control enter. Okay, when I press control enter, basically shift enter I used to execute. So when I execute that, so this program will be this statement will be checked by Python interpreter, will execute that. Now I have connected for the first time. When you are it will take some time to execute, but from second time onwards will not take that much amount of time. It directly will execute that. You can see print hello world. I'm getting the output. This is uh, how the hello world is possible. So when you start learning any language, you start with hello world. This is my hello world code, and my first program is started. So above here you can see there's a file name mentioned, untitled. So I'll write the name of this file, basic Python. .ipynb is the extension of that file. IPNB is IPython notebook. That file you can download from this location here, file, and here you have the options to download IPYNB file and PY file. By default, Python contains .py as the extension to the code. Okay, it contains PY extension. Make sure it contains PY extension, but here it is IPYNB, which is Python notebook file basically, which is locally opened using Jupyter Notebook software. But if you don't have Jupyter Notebook software, so you can just execute the .py file also. Okay, so this is your how exactly the hello world is printed. Fine. Okay, let's talk about some core ideas of the programming languages. Every language contains, not only Python, every language is containing that. We need to know, we need to understand that step by step. I'm having a separate presentation on that, but presentation that's very big. You can try it later. Okay, if you think it's very interesting to see Python, so you can try it later, because within 2 hours, not possible to learn a new language. because I'll be focusing only on the common ideas, core ideas that we may require in the IoT programming on Raspberry Pi only. Yeah. So the first thing, see, first we called as the concept called as variables. See, variable. I'm starting with the hash. Hash is called as a comment. Comment is something which is not checked by the programming language interpreter. It will not show any error, any kind of mistake, any kind of syntactical mistake on that particular line. We start with the hash over there. So that is what we call as a comment. So in that comment, I'll just mention what exactly we are learning now. Now, whenever in a programming language, we have to store the data, so we have to use a variable over there. Okay, we have to use a variable. So to declare a variable, can have x is equal to, like example 34 I mentioned. So x is a variable, 34 is a value which I have stored inside it. Okay, so I have stored that and I have executed it. And if you want to see this, print x. So x is a variable. Inside that, I have stored this value. Why it's variable? Because it can contain any kind of value over there. Okay, I got a question in chat box. How to write a program or run without login? See, online directly there are n number of interpreters are present that we can choose, but for Google we require the login. We require to use, because why login is required?
Excuse me,
So
sir. Sir, so
yeah,
sorry to interrupt you in the middle. I just wanted to request you to keep checking the chat box as participants are putting their queries in it.
I think I'm answering ma'am right now.
Okay, sir. Sorry to interrupt again.
Yeah, so I think I was giving the answer to the question which was posted in the chat box. Okay. So see, whatever program you write over there, that program will be automatically saved on your Google Drive folder. Google Drive folder. It will not be vanished. That's why login is required. But again, if you just go to Google and check online Python interpreter, so you can see n number of Python interpreters available where you cannot save that. But they are not that much beneficial. There we have to, here you are having inbuilt libraries present from Google has given. Google has provided all this library inbuilt. We don't need to install anything. Their cloud is completely set up and we can execute. But if you want some other code, see for example, if you just go to Google and you check run Python online, code online, something, you can see there are n number of softwares are present. Okay. See tutorials find one of the great sites, programmis.com. Here, if you see their compiler, their interpreter, so you can directly get it there. See this available. You can see such kind of windows are there. They are giving hello world code already and run. When you execute that, you can see hello world over here. But this program you have to save by copy these, paste locally like that. That will be possible. Automatically, the code will not be saved. So Programmis we can be used. Tutorial Point is also a great website that also you can use, and that code can also be saved there. Fine. So this you can try, but my preference will be on Google Colab because Google saves this particular code online by default, and next time when you log into the particular system, so the code will be available for us to use. Yeah, I think I have answered this particular question. Yeah. Now, let us continue. We are starting with a variable. So, whenever you write a code in IoT also, sometime or most of the time and every time also, we require to store the data, and we'll be storing that in a variable. So that variable can be anything: X, Y, Z, P, Q, R, A, B, C, or we'll be having add, mul, store, any kind of name. Your name can also be given as the variable name over there, and that's is possible. So these are the variables. Okay, so any kind of variable can be created. Now, second concept that we need to know, it's called as a data type. Data type. So, what is data type? Data type is type of data that I can store in a variable. So, what kind of data I can store? So, in general, there are commonly three type of data in Python we can store. Six are there, but three are specially used and three are commonly used. Three type of data. For example, I declare variable z, inside that I stored 65. Okay, so I'm storing 65 inside it, and that 65 is called as integer. See, if you see the type of z, it is integer. So I can store a data which is of integer type inside it. the first kind of data, integer, full number. Second kind of data, now see z is equal to, if I write 65.12, okay, I have stored that 65.12, and this kind of data we call as the floating point data, the data which contains a decimal point inside it. Sometime in IoT application design, we need to add the time delays in milliseconds, fraction of seconds. So we can use such kind of data over there. Okay. Second is float type of data that I can use. Then the third and most important one is called as, so I'm writing my name in the quotes, string, str, string kind of data there. So I'm storing the data in the quote. It's called as a string. So when the data is in character format, so we need to enclose that in a pair of quotes, single quotes or double quotes. String kind of data. One property which I mentioned in these slides there, dynamic typing. You can see that in the Z I have stored integer type first. In the Z again I have stored floating point type, and in the Z again I have stored string kind of data inside it. So integer, float, and string. And even rather than, apart from that, we are having other data types also. That's also possible. Even in common IoT application, we use three kind of data, and same variable I'm using. First I've stored one type, second type, third type. This is the reason why we call dynamic typing in Python. It's possible. It is called as dynamic typing concept of Python programming language there. Fine. So this is what data types are. Now the third concept is called as a keyword. Keywords. Keywords are the reserved words. Okay, every language contains it basically. They are the reserved words, and these reserved words are specially used for the specific purpose only. Okay, I want to use the data. I want to perform a specific operation. With dedicated operation is there. For that operations only, the keywords are used. There are 32 different keywords are there. 33, sorry. 33 different keywords are there which are presently available in Python. They are given a special meaning there. For example, I'm using pass. You can see the color is changed there. Pass. It's a keyword. Or if I write IF, see the color is changed. Purple color is shown, is used for denoting the respective keywords. These keywords are basically special words. You cannot use them as a variable name. If I write like this, pass is equal to ABC at that 1, 2, 3. I want to store this password in a variable pass. You can see it's showing error there. This is what we call as error. You have not written this particular code correctly. It's a error present there. Why? Because pass is a keyword. It cannot store the value inside this particular keyword. So if I write password is equal to ABC at 1, 2, 3, it is okay. Perfectly fine. Why? Because password is not a keyword. So keywords cannot be used as the variable name. They're having their special meaning. We are having some keywords also. Let's talk about that keywords also, what keywords are present and what's the reason why you're using these particular keywords. This is the third concept that we need to know. So data type, values that are storing into variable, and the keywords, these three things that we need to know, we need to understand, we need to remember over here. Fine. Now apart from that, we are having some other kind of implementations present over here, and these what we call as functions, we call as methods, we call as some other kind of data there. Now whenever we are declaring the variables in Python, let us see what are the different ways chosen. So maybe different IoT application, when you write that on Raspberry Pi, so we may require this particular features so frequently. See, for example, X, Y, Z. So three variables I'm using there, and 12, 56, and 78. See that? Three variables I'm declaring in single line. So if you see this X, the value of X, value of Y, and value of Z there, see, there is 12 is stored into X, 56 into Y, and 78 into Z. This is the important feature that we basically use in Python programming. to write the codes and to save the lines required to perform the respective operation there. Okay, this is shorthand notation basically we use to perform the operation. Let's write a simple code now where we'll do the simple operation on the particular data. So, for example, I want to do the addition of two different numbers. I want to do the addition. So, I require variable, I require values, I require expression, and I require print statement also. So, how it's possible? See this. If I declare first variable number 1 as 56, second variable number 2 as 44, simply, easily we can write it. Equal is called as assignment operator, where you assign the value on right hand side to the left hand side. Right hand side we have value, left hand side we have variable. Okay, then result is equal to num1 plus num2, and then I'll use print result. See this. 56 is stored into first variable, 44 is stored into second variable, and then I have created an expression. This is the mathematical expressions, what we have seen. Expressive programming language is that. This is how we basically write in general mathematics also. Number 1 and number 2 will be added together, and the result, whatever generated, I will storing into result, and then I'm writing this result here on the screen, which is 100. Simple. Even you can write in single line also. For example, if I use this, I'll share this code with you if you want. So you can just go ahead with using it. See, first, second, third. So I have given a semicolon separator there, and with the help of a semicolon separator, it is possible to write the code, and you can see the output there. See this, fine. Okay. So this is the common method. This is a simple kind of codes that I can use to perform the operations there. You can declare the values, you can use it over there. Now, let's see few more abilities which are available to the interpreter there. Yes. So I want to print some data on the screen. So I'll be using a print statement there. But how exactly print statement can be used? What different ways are present? That I'll show. Let's see print. If I write hello world, printed. It's okay. We already see. Now let's see. I want to print hello and after that world. So there's a special character I have added in between. It's called a slash n, and the slash n is called as new line. It's a new line character. So whatever is written after slash n will be printed on a new line. So hello will be printed after that new line, and on the new line we'll get the word printed there. So in the same way, we are having some other special characters also that also we regularly use. It's called as slash t. The tab is present in between. Tab slash t is a tab. If I write something slash v, see slash v is actually it's not supported by Google Colab. It's called as a vertical tab basically. And if you use the slash b, okay, you can see it's a backspace. Backspace, when you keep a backspace there after O, so O will be deleted. So hello world is now remained. There's a special characters that we use in the print statement. So whenever we create a graphical user interface or any kind of user interface, command-based user interface or GUI, we need to focus on use of these particular functions so effectively there. Okay, now let's make a combinations. I want to print the data in the combination fashion. So combinations is something like this. So I declare my name there and my mark 68, for example. And I want to print these name and marks by making the combinations on the screen. So I'll be making use of print statement in this way. See. See. You can observe this code. See, the thing which is given into the quotes, single, maybe double quote also possible, is printed as it is, and which is out of the quote, that is a variable. This is called as a variable, and that variable's value is printed here. So see this, name and second and marks are. So this is printed as it is on the screen. It's printed as it is on the screen. Okay, and marks are printed. Marks are 68. Correct. See, so this is how the combinations are possible. This is the first method to make the combination. There is another way that we use in the coding of Python is something like this. My name is %s. %s means it's a string value, and marks are %i, integer value. And see this, name comma marks. Output is same. So instead of this %s, the string value of name is printed. Instead of %i, integer value of marks is printed. Getting combination. So this is also one of the best way. But what's the advantage of second one? The first is good, but advantage of second is here I can change data type. If I want floating point value, float value of marks, so it's possible something like this. See, it's showing 68.00000. The number 68, it was integer, it's converted into floating point and it's printed there. Just make sure these features are available. We may require, we use that features in actual coding of embedded systems. Okay, okay, not only that, I can have something like this. Point to f means I require the value in floating point, but I require only 2 positions after decimal dot decimal point. Name printed as it is, marks instead of marks I got 68.00. Get it? 2 positions after the dot. So sometimes we may require these particular features, so we can use these features to perform the respective operations over there. Fine. Yes. Now print function can be used in many different ways. I can use directly by this method, name comma marks. That's also possible. Directly both can be printed. But you can see that there's a default space is present in between. If you don't use space, then also space will be by default available. And I want to change the space. I can use separator is equal to empty brackets. So nothing is now present. The separator we can change. No separator is there in between that. And if I want separator to be new line, you can see slash n. Check it. New line. So 60 first name is printed, then separator is new line, and then after that marks. So whatever variables you add, everywhere separator will be new line. That will be printed on new lines there. Okay, so name and marks. But separator is new line present in between them. Fine. This is how the print function can be used, and it will be beneficial to use the print function by using these particular methods there. Yeah. Yes. Let's talk about again the fourth concept, which is called as operator. Operator is a special symbol, just like plus we have seen. It is used to perform some operation on the variables or values basically. So there are 7 different kind of operators present in Python, which is arithmetic operators, relational operators, assignment operator, logical, bitwise, membership, and identity. After all, 4 common data type we require from IoT application design point of view. Remaining others are also required, but from IoT application they are not that much important. They are used to perform some operations there. So the first category is arithmetic operations. See, I want to do some arithmetic operations on the data. So how it's possible to do? So let's see. For example, N1, number 1, I'm putting 45. N2, I'm putting 17. And I'm using some result is equal to N1 plus n2. Okay, n2, and then I'll print this result there on the screen. See this. So addition is done. That is okay. Fine. Addition is performed. Now, same task I'll do, but here this is subtraction, common, so not much different. Then I can do multiplication. Okay, 675 is a multiplication. Number one into number two. Star is a multiplication operator. Sorry. This is syntax error. You can see. Division. 2.64 is a division that I'll get. And if you write double slash, it's a floor division, means number is there, but it will truncate the data after the dot. Truncate the data after the dot. Fine. Double slash is present. And along with that, if you have one more, this is called as remainder of division. Remainder of division. Which will divide. Division is 2. Remainder is 11. Remainder of division. It's called as mod operator basically. And one last double star, which is called as power of operator raised to 45 raised to 17, I think, correct. So this is the number 45 into 45, 17 number of times. And the answer is there on the screen. It's very big number generated. One special ability that Python interpreter is containing, that Python can store any huge integer number inside a variable. It's not possible, not compulsory to have only 10 lakh, 20 lakh, 1 crore, some kind of data, but any length, any width, and any number of digits inside the integer variable is possible in Python. This is the reason why NASA is using Python. This it was mentioned there on the success stories in the presentation. Okay, so check it. It's very big number generated, and these are the arithmetic operations. When you have to do any arithmetic operations, you can use these operators which are shown over here. Now, second category of operators that will also be required. We may use somewhere, and that is they are called as the uh, relational operators. They are used to see the relation between them. See, number one is greater than number two. True? Yes. Number greater than. So this is a greater than symbol. You can find that present here on the screen. Then second is greater than or equal to. Greater than or equal to. Then the third we use is less than, and then less than or equal to, or either equal to or less than. Any one of both, any one of these conditions is possible, is required. Okay, relations between the variables or the values is possible to check with the help of relational operators. Okay, then equality operator. I want to check whether they're equal or not. N1 is equal to N2, or N2 is not equal to N2. N1 is not equal to N2. So equal to N2 is false. Not equal to is true. Yes. So 6 operators are there which are called as relational comparison operator, comparison or relational operators. With this, the relation between the variables can be checked, can be found. Okay. Now, the third category of operators called as assignment operators. That is assignment operators. See, what's the meaning of it? Assignment operator perform operation and then assigns the value. See, n1, I have stored 45 inside it. If I write n1 plus equal to 1, so there's a combination there, n1 plus equal to 1. So n1 is equal to n1 plus 1. That's what the meaning of this operator is. Okay, it will add the 1 into that variable and store again inside the same variable. We'll store that value again inside the same variable. Just a minute, just wait a minute. Okay, fine. So this is how the operators, this is the assignment operator present. And in the same way, there are other operators can also be. This is a shorthand notation basically used in the Python programming. Shorthand notations like uh, I'm combining plus equal to, minus equal to, star equal to, like all. We basically require plus equal to and minus equal to. Other operators are not that much necessary or important there. So I used to add a number or subtract a number from the original variable present there. And the fourth one, the fourth category, that is called as the logical operators. This also we require regularly. Logical operators. Let's see, logical operators are used to combine the multiple conditions together. They used to combine the multiple conditions together. Either they will check both conditions are true or any one of these conditions are true. Let us see. N1 is greater than N2 and and N1 is less than 100. True. And is a keyword and it's an operator which is used to check both the conditions are true or not. First condition, N1 is greater than N2 and N1 is less than 100. If both are true, then only it will result in the true logical operators. Fine. If this condition is false, N1 greater than N2 and N1 greater than 100. So first is true, but second is false. So result will be false. Fine. So both should be true. And the second one is or. Any one of the condition should be true. So it will result true. See, true. N1 is greater than N2 or first condition true and second false. At least one of these conditions should be true. First is true, that part is already true there. And if I make first condition also false, if both are false, then only result will be false. Like so, whenever in a coding, so sometimes we require that I'm getting a data from sensor, and I want to check what exactly data is getting present there. I'll show the practical part of it in the afternoon session. Getting a sensor's data, like temperature sensor data I'm extracting, and I want to check that temperature is rising above this level or not, above the respective level or not. So to check that, we are using these operators in the if statement. We'll talk about if statement after this topic is completed. Okay, this is the fourth category of operators, that is logical operators. Fine. Logical operators. So the operators are the core aspect of every kind of programming language. So whenever you have to do the operations on the data, we'll be using these operators to perform the respective operation over there. Now, most important concept of Python programming is to take the data dynamically from the user. Like I want to interact with this program, I will enter this data from my side dynamically, and then program will give a response to me. Program will provide me a response that okay, what exactly the result you are expecting, you are giving the result to the user particularly. So for that purpose, I'll be using a function called as input. Input function is used to read the data from the user. Let's say I want to write a program that to perform the addition of two different numbers. I want to add two different numbers together. So let's see input data. So for example, num1 is equal to int input, enter the first number, then second number, then I'll write an expression there. Result is equal to num1 plus num2, and then I'll print this result on the screen. Addition is comma result. See this. Now when I execute this one, you can see it's running and the first statement is present here. You can see the green arrow is present, still running there. Input function is used to read the data from the user, from the keyboard. It will enter or print this message on the screen, enter the first number, and we'll check that whether user is entering the data from, I want to enter now, I have to enter now. Here, this one, a checkbox, the text box I got there. For example, if I enter 89, enter. That data will be stored into variable num1. That data will be stored into the variable num1. And now the arrow is moved below because now I'm executing second statement there. Num2 is asking for enter second number. For example, enter 11. Enter. Done. So first data is taken and stored into variable num1, and second data into num2. Then I've done addition of num1 plus num2. I got the result, and then I printed this addition on the screen. That's it. And then we are getting addition is whatever 100. This is a simple code by which you are allowed to read data from user. So whenever you design any IoT application, so when we need to read the data from the user and perform the operation to code, we'll be using these particular statements. These are very important statements by which you can read data dynamically. I don't require exactly the same way. I just can enter any kind of data, like 23 plus 177, 200. Okay, so I'm reading integer data, num1, integer data num2, performing additions and then printing the addition there on the screen. Fine. This is how data input can be taken. These are the core ideas, core concept that every programming language is containing. The syntax may be different, maybe different kind of syntax that they are using. Now, let's go with the flow-based programming. Different kind of flows, different kind of flow controls are possible to create in the programming, and to do so, there are two different kind of statements of flow making are possible. Out of which the first statement we call as the decision making statement. Decision making. It's to make the decision, we are using the statement. So there are three different keywords that we use to make the decision: if, elif, and else. So most of the time we require that. These are the core aspect of every programming language to make a decision, and based on the decision we will perform some kind of operations over there. So let's see, how do we make a decision? For example, I want to read a number from user, and I want to check that whether that number is positive or negative. Whether that number is positive or negative. Let us see. See, I'm entering this number here. Num is equal to input, enter the number. Enter the number. I'll read that and store into variable num. But how do we make the decision? So there's a common syntax structure that I want to use is if statement. That's right. If space num is less than 0. Let's use greater than 0. Greater than 0, colon, enter. So when I press enter, we'll get a space automatically here. So basically we don't have to change it. This is called as indentation. This is called as indentation. Indentation is like whatever statement you want to be there under if statement, they should be in the same column. Okay. So if condition I mentioned number is greater than 0, then what I have to do? I want to print. What I want to print? The number is positive. And if it is not, then I'll go to write another statement there, else, colon, enter, and let's print the number is negative. Okay. This is called as decision making statement. So we are making a decision. What decision we are making? We are comparing whether that number is greater than, less than, or any other. 6 operator we have seen in relational, 2 operator we have seen in logical. Any one of that or any combinations of them is possible to use, and accordingly will execute. So if the condition is true, we'll execute this part, and if it is not, if it is false, then we'll execute this part. See that. Asking 89, enter. Number is positive because it will check here, number is greater than 0. We'll execute this particular part, else will not be executed. Okay, let's execute again. I'm executing it again, like minus 49 negative number. This is called a decision making statements. These are the decision making statements. You can see this. So the thing I have posted in chat box, they are not containing the indentation, but it is compulsory. This part, this tab is given. This tab is given. If it is not given, it will show the error there. See, if I write like this, showing error, indentation error is shown there. What is that? Unexpected indented block. I require a tab there to ensure that the print statement is under if, below if. Okay, to show that this is required basically. Fine. See this, showing the number is positive. This is how if else statement. But one thing that we may be having present in that, if I enter 0, it is showing the number is negative. How? Because condition is false. The condition I mentioned over here is false, and when condition is false, I'm executing this part. 0 is neither positive nor negative. Okay, so it's not coming in any one of these categories. So what I'll do, I'll write one more keyword there to check that whether the number is 0 or not. So I'll write it here. Elif. Number is greater than 0. If it is not, I'm going to check another condition there. Elif, number is equal to 0. If it is not greater than 0, then check number is equal to 0 or not. And if that condition is also false, we'll go to the last else part of it. That is, number is negative. So 3 things I'll add. Elif can be used. Else if, it's a short form of else if there. And now you can see 0. So first condition is false, second is true. So when first condition is false, then second is checked. Second is false, third is checked. Third is false, fourth is checked. Like one. This is called a decision making statement that used to change the flow of the program. So there are certain features that these are containing, that if is containing the feature that is, it is compulsory to write. Okay, and it is non-repeatable, or you can say it is it's compulsory and non-repeatable. Okay, now elif is not compulsory, it is optional, and repeatable. Repeatable means you can write any number of elifs there. It's possible to have any number of elifs. So elif can be written. Depending upon your data that you're taking from sensor, you have to work on some kind of decision making. So we'll be making use of these statements there, repeatable. And if you talk about the else part there, so else is again optional and non-repeatable. So everyone is having their own feature, own idea to make a decisions and execute the statement as said. These ideas are used. So any number of such solutions are possible. We'll see that when you see the IoT application at actual. So I'll show how exactly these particular control structures are used there inside the Python's program. Fine. Decision making statements. Now, to create the flows, this is the first method that we use. It's called a decision making. And the second method is called as the loop control structures. Looping statements. Python is having 2 different kind of loops and 3 different kind of statements which are used in loops. Actually, 2 loop and 2 statements are there. Third statement is generalized pass. That's what you are seeing. Looping, when I want to execute some statement some repetitive number of times, this is to ensure that every IoT application is infinite. Is it so? It is running 24 by 7. How do we make to execute that 24 by 7? Now it's possible to make it. So we require a loop control structure which will help you to execute your statement for infinite number of times or repetitive number of times, maybe possible there. They are called as looping statements. For looping statement, there are two different kind of loops. Basically, we use the first loop we call as a while loop. While. While loop is a universal loop. In every programming language, this loop control structure is present that you can use there. See, I want to print my name for 10 number of times. So if I write count is equal to 1, sorry, start with 0, and I'll write while is a loop, it's a keyword also, count is less than 10. So when condition is true, it will execute some statement repeatedly, which we can write below the while loop, while statement there. See, while, maybe if you are knowing PHP, JavaScript, C, R, Ruby, or MATLAB, everywhere this loop is present and they are used almost in the same way. Okay, that's what we call as a while loop. Fine. Now I'll print my name, print. But to ensure that, so it will execute and it will check again, condition will be checked again. If condition is false, we'll terminate the loop. If it is not false, continue, 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 continue. But I need to change my counter. So count is equal to count plus 1. First of all, when I execute this particular statement, I'll check while count is less than 10. Condition will become true. Count is less than 10 is true. And we'll print a name. And we'll increment the count by 1. Increment the count by 1. So it will become 1 and again it will go above to check the condition. So 1 is less than 10. Print. 2 is less than 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. When condition becomes false, when count is equal to, count becomes 10. When count becomes 10, condition will become false. Condition will be false and it will be terminated. See this. My name is printed 10 number of times here. So fixed iterations are, iteration means single execution of loop. First execution, second, third, they are called as iterations. So iterations are controlled by the loop control variable, which is called as a counter. So that's a counter present there. That counter is basically used to enforce the conditions. That means we need to enforce, we need to ensure that n number of executions of the particular loop are possible. So when number of executions are given, so based on that I have created this particular executing it there. Okay, see that the code indentation should be followed again perfectly. So under while two statements are there and they are and they have ensured that they are in the same column. Print and count are there to ensure that print under the while statement. They are executed under the while statement there. Okay, getting it. Loop control statements present. And one important thing, in every IoT application, why? While loop is containing one ability that while loop can make your program to run infinitely, continuously, infinitely, continuously there. How do I execute that then? See, I want to execute, I want to print my name for 10 number of times. I have given the condition there, but if I don't want, I want my name to be printed for infinite number of times. So I can use the while loop in this way. While, so let's make count variable 0 while 2. I don't require count basically. While true. True true. It will be always true. It will not become false. Okay. And print, I need. Now you can see it's running continuously. If I come below, see that here is my scroll bar. You can observe running infinitely. Infinity is there. Running. I need to stop it. Not stopping. Kernel interrupt is required there. Okay, fine. It's running infinitely. Here I need to interrupt the execution. Yeah, it's interrupted. See, interrupted. So infinite execution. When you want to embed a program of Raspberry Pi or Python into Raspberry Pi, while loop is compulsory because second loop is not containing ability to run infinite times. Okay, no infinity is present in for loop. Second loop is there. That's why while loop is essential in every program. We can use while loop. So continuous monitoring devices, sensors that what you have put anywhere, they are having while loop in it, and it's running infinitely. So if you're having any error, interrupt handling, that also we are having a separate session on that. We'll talk about that. Unless until the interrupt is not there, will be running continuously. That okay, fine. This is called as a while loop. Many errors are getting. So we can see error handling mechanism also. How do I use it? Okay, the first method, while and condition should be mentioned. If the condition is true, we'll execute that statement inside the while loop. If it is not true, it is false, we'll continue with other statements which are written after the while loop there. Now, second loop is called as the for loop. So, for loop is having fixed number of iterations there. Fixed number of iterations. See, I'll show you how do I use it. For x in is a keyword, for is a keyword. See, so for x in 5. So first of all, it will take 5 into x and print it. Then 1 into x print, 2 into x print, 7 into x print, 9 into x print, 4 into x print, done. Whatever values you given after that, if they are over, loop will be automatically completed, terminated. And here we can specify, we are actually specifying definite number of element here. Okay, finite number of element are present inside it. Okay, so if these numbers are over, then for loop will be completed automatically. So this is what the for loop is there. But for loop, there are any number of abilities are possible. Not many possibilities are there that we can use in the for loop. Let's see, for example, I want to make the combination of the data, so I can do that like this. I've given string, I've given float, I've given integers. See, so one by one they are taken and perform the operations. And there is one more way which is used there in the for loop. You can see this. One more way is there. What are the range function that we use? See this. See, for x in range 8, means from 0 to 7, highest number minus 1, that is 8 minus 1. We are getting this data one by one into x variable print, second print, third print, fourth print. Okay, that data from the range will be taken from 0 to n minus 1. 0 to n is 8, n minus 1, 7. So it is 0 to 7. It has taken and I'm printing and using it. Any kind of operations are possible. I want to find square of this. See, first number square, 0 square, 1 square, 2 square, 3 square, 4 square, 5 square, 6 square, and 7 square. See, this function For loop basically, it works on the set of data in sequence. But if it is not having a fixed number of elements, but actually it's not possible. The infinite number of elements are not possible. So for loop cannot go infinite. So somewhere, whenever you have to execute some fixed amount of iterations, so we'll be using the for loop for that particular operation there. Right? This is the second kind of loop which we require. So depending upon your requirement, your application requirements, in IoT application requirement, you can use either while loop or for loop. But while loop is compulsory. While loop is having ability to make the system infinite, system execute infinitely. This is the reason why the while loop is basically used commonly in all the languages, all the programs of IoT application designs there. Okay, now two statements that we basically use in the loop control structures of Python, and these are break and continue. Break is used to break the loop immediately. Okay, used to break the loop immediately there. See, so for example, the statement which I have used above. See, so I got that. For x in range 8, and I have printed x 0 to 7. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all they are printed in sequence. Now, I want to terminate the loop upon certain conditions, like, see, here, if I write a condition, if x is equal to 5, if x is equal to 5, break. Break is a keyword. To terminate the loop immediately. Terminate the loop immediately. So for x in range 8, if I x is equal to 5, break. 0 printed, 1 printed, 2 printed, 3 printed, 4 printed. But when value becomes 5, we are breaking the loop. That's why I'm getting 0 to 4 values only. Getting it? 0 to 4. Correct. Break. And one more statement is there, which is called as continue. So as per the logic of IoT needs, you have to use it over there. So this is very interesting. Continue. Now, what's the meaning of continue? Continue is used to skip the current iteration only. Yeah, it is used to break the current iteration, skip or break the current iteration only. It means that for value equal to 5, the print statement is not executed. See this: 0 printed, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. So when value was 5, it has continued it. It has not printed the statement below the continue. It continued from the next statements again ahead, which is the application of the continue statement here. Application of continue statement is something like this. Fine. Continue can be used by using this particular way. So these two statements are connected with the loop, not only for loop, but in while loop also. I can use this break and continue statement, but we need to ensure that your proper logic, whatever you have created, should be present there. Then only it's possible to create that. So whenever you have to enforce these logics, this kind of methods, statements in programming, we have to use break statement or the continue statement at the specific location over there. These are the loop statements and the loop control statements which are present there in Python programming language. Now, let's talk about the kind of data that we are using. We have seen primitive data types also: integer, float, and strings. Along with that, there are 4 more types are there, which are called as data structures, not data types actually. They are called as data structures. Data structures. Data structures Data structure is a way of organization of data onto the variable. How do we organize the data inside the variable? The collection format. Collection means a group format there in a single variable. Okay, single variable. That is called a data structure. Let's see the first way by which you organize the data in a single variable, and that is called as a list. What is a list? See, now I'm declaring in a square brackets. Inside these square brackets, if I write some values, something like this, I can print this. And if you see the type of num now, it's called as list. List is a collection of data. It's a collection of data on which you perform a common operation, and it contains some properties also. The data that is stored inside the list it can be of any type. You can change the respective data there. Okay, that is what as a mutability properties contains. So two properties that list is containing, that is, list contains different kinds of data, and it is mutable. Mutable means you can change the content of it. Okay, can change the content. It's called as a list, and to access the content from that list, I can use this method. In square bracket, you have to write a number. It's called as index. This is called as index. So this value is stored at 0th index location. This is first, this is second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth. So in the square bracket, you write the index, fourth. At fourth location, what value is stored? 3. Okay, this is called as a list of values. So list of values I can store, and even if you want to change that data, I can do that. For example, number 4 is equal to 12. And print that num on the screen. You can see at the fourth location, I'm having 12. Here you can see. Fine. This is what is the mutability. And want to ensure that any kind of data can be stored inside it. Num of 2 equal to hello I have given. Then I printed this num on the screen. So different kind of data. Hello is also stored. So whenever you have to create a collection of data, so I'll be using a list where we are enclosing this data into a pair of square brackets. Into the pair of square brackets. This is what we call as a list, and the contents are mutable, changeable there. There are many methods possible that I can do, that I can apply onto it. Methods means you can, if you want to sort this list, you have to delete the data, insert the data, remove the data, replace the data. Like all of these operations are possible onto the list, but this is out of the scope of this particular sessions here. You can try it later. Yeah. Now, second kind of data structure that we use is called as a tuple. Tuple, how to declare? Num, let's say x. In the parentheses, so I need to ensure the data is stored there into the parentheses. See, print x is printed, and if you see the type of x, what's that? Tuple. Tuple is storing this data into a set of or pair of parentheses here, but it contains two properties basically. What are the properties of it? Tuple, it can store different types of data, but the important part means it's similar to the list itself, but it is immutable. The content of tuple cannot be changed. Tuple cannot be changed. Like x of 2, yeah, 45, correct. But if I want to change this second content, tuple object does not support item assignment. X of 2 is equal to 90. So this is what the property is. Immutable means whenever you have to keep the data constant inside the variable, so I'll be making use of a data structure called as tuple. This tuple data structure is used almost many different times when you have to keep the data non-modifiable. Keep the data non-modifiable, we'll be using the second data structure called as tuple. Applicable, used many times in IoT application designs there. And the third one is called as dictionary. Dictionary stores the data in a set of pair of key value pairs. Key and values. Keys and values can be used over there. How do? Let's see. 4, 12. 4 colon 12. 5 colon 37. 7 colon 100. 10 colon 30. See, in a set of curly braces, I mentioned there. And if you see the type of X, it's like a list itself, but I'm having a key. This is called as key colon value. Key colon value. Key colon value. This is key colon value. They are present in it. Fine. They are presented. That we can use. Okay. And if I want to access the values, so I can use the key to access it. So X of 5. See, at fifth location, 37 is present in it. You can see. The key is 5 and the value is 37 present over there. Fine. This is part of the dictionary. Okay. We store the data in the form of dictionary. You can see the type of it. Any replacement, addition, all they are possible. Basically, where we use dictionary in IoT, in cloud application design, whenever you have to send the data, collection of data at a time. So I'll be using dictionary like that. You have to use a variable name, its value. Variable value, and all together you have to set at a time onto the cloud in IoT application. Generally, we things with cloud, where we basically apply the dictionary, use dictionary in that particular way, we use it, and based on that we can just make use of. Like these are the common method, common ideas where the dictionary can be used over there. And the fourth data section now is called as set, where we use curly braces, but we don't use the colon operator there. Let's see, x is equal to in curly braces, see, when I print this x on the screen, you can see repeated data is not considered by the set. Repeated data which is repeated is not taken into consideration by the set there. See, if you see, 2 is present 3 number of times here. Here also, here also, here also, but it's taken only one time. Is it so? Or if we talk about 3, 4, 5, 5 is also 2 times. See, 1 here, 1 here, but it's taken only one time. So distinct or unique values can be stored inside the data structure called as a set. Fine, it's a set data structure. So I think very rarely we using the set in IoT application design, but generally in data science applications, we use this set very, very regularly to store the identify distinct unique values from the respective data set which is given to us. Right? These are the 4 data structures that we use, especially in Python programming language to store the data. So as per your requirements of your program, of your data, of your data processing, so we will be using these particular data structures to perform the respective operation. This is what the data structures are, the core aspect of the programming language. In general, we use a list and tuple very regularly in IoT application designs, which is we also see that in practical part also we'll talk about that, where we basically use this particular data structures step by step. Fine. It's called as a data structure. Now, let's see the next concept, what we call it as functions and modules. Functions is something which is, we are seeing the print is a function, type is a function. They are used to perform the operation. Okay, I got one question in the chat box here. Set arrange data in order. Not really. Just a minute, I'll show you. If I write like this, 25, 26. Previously, it was not containing this feature. Means the data storage pattern was different particularly. If I make this pattern, you can see this. But order is specially used only for the numerical entries. These entries are number. Okay, but it's possible that I can store the data in the string fashion also. For example, X I have stored. Okay, so that X is stored at the end, particular. And now if it is stored at the end, now you observe data is sorted or not. Sorted, but according to string it is sorted. So here considering one as a string, 1111 is a string, 2 3 are string. So you can see that. So numerical sorting is not there. Now string sorting is there. Fine. But sorting is okay, it's possible. It's fine. That's great. Okay, done. So these are the four different data structure that we use. Now let's see two more important topic. The first is function, and second is the module. Okay, which also we require in every IoT application design. Function is a name or is something like print is a function. It is used to perform some operation. What is a function? For example, if I declare a list, okay, and I want to find how many, I want to print it. I'm using a print function there. Print it, okay, and I want to find how many number of elements are present inside it. Len function, 8. Fine. I want to find which is the maximum number in X. I want to find sum of all numbers in X. Correct. So this is called as a function. That the function, they are used to perform some operations on the respective data which you pass in between the parentheses, in between the pair of parentheses. So it performs that operation there. So like such n number of such functions, pre-built, inbuilt functions are present, and that directly we can use to perform the operation on the data that we pass as parameter to it. Correct. But we can create a function by your own. Generally, we don't require to function by our own in IoT application. You can find later words. We are using the function which are pre-built in the Python's library there. Pre-built in Python's library. So which functions are there and how to use that function, that we see. One Python program is called as one module, and that module can be reused again in another different kind of program. Okay, the module can be reused in another different kind of program. So how to reuse that? So if I'm an external library created and I want to use that respective library, okay, I want to use the respective library in my program. So how to use it? There's a keyword called as import, by which you add external library inside your code. For example, I want to find a square root of a number. Square root of a number can be found by using a function called as sqrt. But sqrt function is present in a Python module called as math, pre-built Python module, inbuilt Python module called as math. See, I want to find a square root, sqrt, square root of number 34. Showing error there, sqrt is not defined. Not defined. But where the sqrt is present? Sqrt is present into a Python module, pre-built Python module called as math. So I'm importing that math and then math.sqrt. So sqrt function is present inside the math Python module. It's pre-built module in Python programming. Inside that, this function is present, and if you want to use it, you have to import the module, and you can use like that math.sqrt. And not only that, I am having n number of such modules. Math dot let us say log of 34. And if I want to use a constant value like math, not function or value. So module is a collection of variable, function, and classes. Okay, we don't require classes anywhere, but variable and functions are required. So the sqrt log is a function, pi is a value, variable. Inside that, the value is already present. So we have to import it, and then we can use it. Even not only like that, I can import this module in this way also. Import math as m and then m.sqrt means I'm replacing the name math by this alias as m, means when the names are big, so I'm using as keyword to give it a new name. The new name I've given is m. So m.sqrt 45. So I got the 45 square root as 6.70 here. Got that. This is the second method I can use, and there is one more method is possible. This is called as from import, where module names are not required. See, I want to use it. So from math import sqrt, comma 5, comma log. Many are there. I'm using only 3. Now, when I write like this, in this case, I don't have to write the name of the module. I can directly use this particular function, sqrt of 23. I have not written math dot m dot, but directly it's possible. I want the value of pi now. You can see pi is imported inside your code by using from import, and now you can see pi 34, 3.4. Sorry. That's the use of from import. From import. Fine. That's what we are getting over here. From math import sqrt pi and log. Log can also be used, but other function like sine, cos, tan, trigonometric functions also there, power, factorial, but they cannot be used because they are not imported there. So any one of these 3 import style is used in the advanced Python programming, library-based Python programming, IoT application design there to import it. So every program in IoT, we contain this is the first statement that we are importing libraries, and after that we are using these libraries in your program, library and functions in your program. Basically, this is what the importing statements are used. We use the import statement and we use the function. So any number of such modules are there. Like time module is present. Okay, time module, for example, wait a minute. Yeah, that we will be using in IoT applications if required. So import time. Okay, and see this. So many such utilities are present. We need to search on the net for performing that operation. I am using hello. Then I use time dot sleep. Sleep for 3 seconds, and then we print world. See this. Hello printed. After 3 seconds, world is printed. So time modules contain this sleep function there. So likewise, such any number of modules are there that we can use inside the code, and we'll perform the respective operations accordingly. Fine. This is called as the modules, general and common module. One last topic, and then we'll see the actual IoT coding there. Just a minute. We require a presentation for this. That is what we call as exception handling mechanism. Exception is something which we call as runtime errors. See this exception handling. We require very regularly in every IoT device, because when program is running and immediately we are getting any kind of error, then what to do? What operations to perform? That's we have to decide. So exception can be stated as any abnormal condition in a program resulting in the disruption in the flow of program. Whenever an exception occurs, the program halts the execution and further code is not executed. Program will immediately terminate it. Further code is not possible to execute. So we have to avoid the immediate interruption of the program with the help of exception handling mechanism here. So there are any number of such error will occur. Zero division error, name error, indentation error, IO error, UIF error. May possible. See this. Check out this code. Number one I'm reading, number two I'm reading, and then I'm performing the division of that number. And let us see how to avoid the respective operations present over here. I'll go to my program now, and there we will see what do you mean by exception, how to handle it. Wait a minute, I'll go to above, and the program that we have seen to perform the addition of the numbers. Okay, this I will use below. Yeah, see this. For example, instead of addition, I am performing the division here. Okay, see, enter first number 45, second number is 5. I got number 9.0 correct. Again execute it. First number 45, second number is 0. What is that? I'm getting exception. Zero division error. This is called an exception, called a runtime error. And program is immediately terminated because divide by 0 is not possible by programming languages there. It's showing zero division error, divide division by 0. Program is immediately terminated. The thing which are given after it, they are not executed there. They are not executed. So we have to avoid the immediate execution, because many times it happens that if you are getting network error or some different error in IoT application, it will be immediately get terminated. And you are not aware that your IoT application is not running. So what to do in that case? This is one of the conditions. So what to do? We're having two different keywords that we use in every IoT application. That the program, if it is throwing exception, it should terminate. It should not terminate actually, or it should terminate by performing all shutdown activities there. So to do so, what we will do? See, the statement which contains the error that you have to enclose in a try block. Try is a keyword. Try. If exception is present in this line, okay, remember, zero division error may occur or may not occur. It will occur only when number 2 is 0. Maybe if it is not 0, then program will immediately executed sequentially there. So except, I'll write there, which will catch the zero division error. Okay, except zero division error. If error is present, then I will print denominator is 0. And if it is not, see, I'll cut it and put it here. If it is containing exception, see this, it will catch the zero division error and will report you. It will not show the error over there. See, for example, 8 and second is 0. It's showing denominator 0. Program is terminated? No. It has shown the error? No. So the statement where it's possible to have an exception, have an error, runtime error, we can enclose in a try block like this. If exception is there, it will execute this part. Exception is not there, it will not execute that. See this. Now, first of all, we have seen the first part. 78 divided by 4. 19.5. I got it. Zero division error is not there. I got the division, program is terminated. But if zero division error is there, I will get denominator is 0 printed on the screen, program will not be terminated. So to avoid the immediate execution of program, we are using the exception handling mechanism. So this is the method, this is the way by which we handle the exception. We catch the exception, we perform the operation to catch it, and we will avoid the immediate execution of the termination of the program. Basically, this is what we can say. It's a exception handling mechanism of the Python programming languages. This is the last topic of Python programming. Many things are there. Python is containing file handling, function programming, and many more object-oriented programming are present over there. Okay, but that day we don't require in IoT application point of view. So when you write the code in Raspberry Pi in the afternoon session at 3 p.m., I'll show how Raspberry Pi can be programmed, can be installed, can be used further step by step to understand that these at least coding of Python programming is expected and it's required there. Okay, that's from my side. If I have any questions or any kind of doubt, so you can ask or you can put in the chat box also. Yes. If you have any kind of questions or any kind of doubts regarding these sessions, you can ask or you can put in the chat box also. It's open for you. Thank you. Yeah. If any kind of questions or doubts you're having, you can put in the chat box or you can ask directly.
Thank you so much, sir. This was such an intriguing session, and I'm pretty sure that there are a bunch of questions with our audience, which they may ask by raising their hands virtually or by dropping them in the chat box, if there are any questions. I repeat, if the audience has any question, they may raise their hands virtually or put them in the chat box. I think the session was so well explained that I don't think our audience is left with any questions. Thank you so much for being an active audience, and thank you so much, sir, for this wonderful session. Before we disperse, I would like to bring to your notice that the feedback form link has been circulated in the chat box, so please fill it up with the correct details. We would now take a short tea break and join back for the next session at 3 p.m., which would be a hands-on session on interfacing sensors and Raspberry Pi with Python, continued with Tushar sir only. The session link would be the same as the current one, which will be floated in the chat box. Thank you so much and have a great day ahead.